Hey everyone, it's Gabriel here. Today's video, I'm doing something a little different. Even though my channel is still a small channel, I'm just really glad that I'm still able to impact some of you who are constantly watching my channel. I've been receiving feedback on messages and DMs on how my personal stories has helped some of you go through dark and challenging times. Now this makes me reflect why I'm doing this channel in the first place. I created this channel because I want to help people, and I do that by sharing my own personal stories and the ton of stupid mistakes that I've made in my journey as an entrepreneur, not just in business but in life, relationship, and my health, and especially my mental health. And these are mistakes that I wish that I didn't make, which is the reason why I'm sharing in this channel, so that people can actually learn from it and not have to repeat the same mistakes that I did. Receiving these messages and comments really keeps me going, and I really want to thank you guys for sending me all these encouraging texts. And even if there's just 10 of you consistently watching my video, I will gladly do it, because if I can just impact 10 people watching this video, that is still better than trying to reach out to 1 million people just to be cool. I'm still finding out what's my main topic for this channel, which is why I've been doing a range of videos from productivity to money mindsets to marketing. And honestly, I have to balance doing research on what type of videos that is trending, and those videos tend to get more reach. And there are some softwares that allows me to do some keyword search on whether this is a topic that people would search for, and therefore would it get higher reach. But sometimes those videos that has a higher volume of searchers may not necessarily be what I really want to talk about. So it's really kind of hard to do those videos, because every videos require a lot of time than most people think. There's researching, there's scripting, there's shooting, there's editing, there's posting, and it can require up to like 10 over hours just to do one videos. So usually we want to maximize every single video by doing the best research, the best keywords, just to reach out to the most amount of people. But in this video, I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to speak from my heart, not just what the algorithm wants, because I know some of you will need to hear this. And I want to share with you, how do you believe in yourself again even when no one does. See, I know some of you are going through dark and challenging times like right now, and you lack motivation and may even feel depressed at times, and you feel alone and that no one can understand how you feel. And the reason why I know that is because it is the same for me. I may look like someone that has it all together, super productive, and I make a lot of money, and I'm never depressed, and I always have some kind of weird hacks, life hacks, I don't know, some device that I wear on my body or whatsoever, that makes me a different person. But that is so far from the truth. The truth is that I've been battling clinical depression for many years, ever since the death of both my parents. Like, not self-declared depressed, I've actually been going on and off to a psychiatrist, and for a period of time we're on antidepressants such as SSRI and so on and so forth. Now, I personally stopped all medication for a while now because I didn't feel like it helped me. Now, this is not a medical advice. If you are prescribed medication whatsoever, please continue to take it under your doctor's advice. It's just that for me, I find that it didn't really help me, and I decided to stop taking it and decided to go on a different journey. And the reason why I'm sharing this is not for you to feel sorry for me or to feel sympathy for me. I'm sharing this to let you know I know how it feels and that you are not alone. And here are some of the things that I did that helped me, and hopefully it will help you. So how do you believe in yourself again, especially when you're depressed, you are lacking motivation to do anything? The first thing is to recognize that you are not alone, even when you think you are. And I believe that brings some kind of comfort, because I always think that I'm alone, like nobody else thinks like me. And I think that is where your mind plays tricks on you. When you feel alone, when you feel lonely, that's where you feel isolated, you feel left out, and that brings you deeper into that depression. This is actually very common, that a lot of people go through the same thing, especially entrepreneurs like me who go through a lot of roller coasters of emotion almost on a daily basis. I realized that I'm actually not alone in this journey. And I don't know why, but I just feel there's a certain comfort when I realize I'm not alone. And I realized that there are some people who are similar, but they have found a way out. And if they have found a way out, it means that I can find a way out as well. So here's what you need to understand, that what you're facing is not your identity. See, I've always been talking about how if you want certain results in your life, it's all about not just the goals, but the habits, because habits creates the behavior, and the behavior, which is actions, the actions gives you the results you want. So if you want to change your results, you need to change your habits. And in my last few videos, I talked about outcome habits and identity habits. When you have a habit because of an identity, that is so powerful. That is the best way for you to build a habit. I spoke about an example of when someone have a habit of smoking and they're trying to quit smoking. That's outcome based, and an identity based is that when this person starts saying, I am not a smoker, and that usually turns out better than outcome-based, because an identity-based habit is always way more powerful than outcome-based. But this becomes a double-edged sword because we start to see the problems as our identity, right? Where we start to look at depression and we start saying that we are depressed, and it becomes an identity. And then when it becomes an identity comes with a certain habit of being a depressed person. So I think the first thing you need to understand is that you are battling something, but you are not that person. That's the reason why I say what you're facing is not your identity, right? You may be battling depression, but you are not depressed. You realize that I changed the language. I realized that I am battling depression. This is what I'm facing. That's the problem. But my problem is not my identity. It is, I am not depressed. I'm battling depression. So that's the first thing. You gotta change your language, and you gotta make sure that your problem doesn't become your identity, because your identity will give you a set of habit, and that's the hardest thing for you to change. The second thing, once you realize the first one, is to have a vision of what you want, not just what you don't want. When people are depressed, and when I'm depressed, I always look at what are the things I don't want, right? I look at the situations in my life, maybe an obstacle, challenges in my business, in my marriage, and I'm always looking at what I do not want. I remember there was a time when I was in a counseling session, and the person that's counseling me was asking me, okay, so what's going on? And I just kept telling him, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this. And I was able to kind of like say, like without thinking, a whole list of things I do not want. And I remember one question that he said stopped me in my track, broke my pattern, and made me realize that I've been focusing on the wrong thing. He asked me this, okay, so Gabriel, you have been telling me for the last 30 minutes what you do not want. So what do you want? And I remember when he asked me, what do I want? I paused and I wasn't able to say anything for at least the next 1 to 2 minutes. Because I've been so focused on what I do not want, and I haven't been thinking about what I really want in my life and my business. And here's the truth, right? You cannot reach a place when you don't even know where you want to go, right? It's like you're driving the car and you're saying, I don't want to go here, I don't want to go here, I don't want to go here, but yet you do not know where you want to go. What that does is that you will never ever arrive in your destination, you'll never be happy, because you don't even know where you're going in the first place. And eventually, what happens when you're always driving and driving without knowing where you're going to end up? Eventually, you're going to run out of fuel, and that's called burnout. And so I realized I was constantly facing burnout. It's because I don't even know where I want to go. So whenever you're thinking about what you do not want in your life, right, and you realize it's a pattern, you're able to think of a lot of things you do not want or where you do not want to go. Stop and ask yourself, realize that, break your pattern, stop and ask yourself, where do you want that? Right? Focus on where you want to go rather than where you do not want. The third thing is that you need to change your environment. I really believe that environment is the most underrated key to happiness in our life. And this is especially if you are surrounded by people who do not believe in you. You see, we always go up or go down to the level of our environment. So if you are constantly hanging out with people who are here, and you are here, you're going to be brought down to that level. But if you're always hanging out with people who are here and you're here, you'll be brought up to that level. There's this very cliche and very popular saying that you are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. Even though it's cliche, it is true. If you hang around people who are constantly negative, people who are constantly looking at their problems instead of finding a solution, you're going to stay depressed. You want to be around people who you are aspiring to be. I was hanging around people who are really, really self-centered, people who are very materialistic, who are always thinking about themselves, and I find that whenever I hang out with them, I just get so drained out of life. And I find that 2 things help me. Number 1 is having some sort of a spiritual group. Now, I remember when I was hanging out with my old friends, who were very materialistic, all they think about is themselves and what they can gain and what they're gonna buy, and I realized that at the end of every conversation, I always feel very drained. And then I read this quote, and this quote is by this author called C.S. Lewis. And C.S. Lewis said that humility is not to think less of yourself, but to think of yourself less. Now, what that means is that humility is when you don't think about yourself as much. And the opposite of humility is pride. You see, to constantly think about yourself is actually pride. And I find that a lot of times my suffering comes from thinking about myself, thinking about me, what I want to do, what I have to do, what I want and what I do not want. And what I find is that when I join a spiritual group, alright, people who have faith in something together and they believe in something that's bigger than just themselves, I think that's a true definition of hanging out with people who are really humble. I remember when a time I lost everything when I lost both my parents to cancer and I lost all my money due to a scam and I was in a huge amount of debt. It was really the darkest period for me. But this is also the period I started attending church and I joined a care group where a community of Christians gather together to talk about Christ. And the amazing thing about this group is that they always speak good words to one another, right? They declare good to one another and they always speak good words to me and declare that I will have a bright future. And every time that I hang out with them, I find that I am uplifted whenever I leave the group versus my old friends where I felt drained. So whatever your faith is, join that community and really just be involved, because you want to be involved with a community of people who think more than themselves, higher than themselves, then there is not just always conversation about themselves. And I said spiritual group, not religious group. Sometimes I believe that religious people are the worst people you can hang around with. They use religion or God as a way to manipulate people or shame people into certain action. And how do you know the difference? Ask yourself, do you feel negative emotions such as fear, shame, condemnation? Or do you feel empowered, uplifted, joyful after hanging out with this group of people? If you are in the first group, don't be afraid to change and find a new community. The second thing, of course, is your workplace. Now, I know this is really tricky, but the reason why I say spiritual group first is because if you can't change your workplace, at least you have a spiritual peer group to support you. But if your workplace is toxic, really do your best to change it. Find a new place with a better environment. During interviews, make sure you ask about the culture of the place. How's the culture? How does people work there? Things like that are always more important than just the salary. Don't always just go for the highest paying job. What's the point of getting a higher salary if it costs you your mental health and your health overall? And if you're an entrepreneur like me, you have control over the culture of your workplace. So be careful who you hire, be careful who you partner with, and do not allow toxic people with the wrong values into the company. And the fourth and last thing is that you might have to let go of a certain expectation of yourself. Now, it's okay to hold yourself to a high standard, I believe in that, but not to an unrealistic expectation or to what others expect of you. I find that the media and society has a lot to do with how we think, and they are adding fuel to this problem. See, there's this whole hustle culture. If you're not working all the time in your business, you are lazy. Or if you are not successful by 30 years old, you have failed, because 18 years old are making millions of dollars. And if you're not married by a certain age, you have failed. And I used to have this really high expectation of myself that I'm going to achieve this amount of money by a certain age. I'm going to be in Forbes under 30, or like I'm going to be a billionaire by this age or whatsoever. And eventually I realized, I started to ask myself, why am I doing this to myself? Like, it's okay to dream big, but it's more important to ask yourself, what's the intention? Like, who am I doing all this for? Am I doing all this just because it is my calling, or is it because I want to impress other people? So what if I'm super successful before I am 30 years old? Like, who am I trying to prove? Who am I trying to impress? Or is it really a calling? And it's so important to understand that difference, that are you doing it really for yourself? Is it your calling, or are you doing it because of somebody's expectation, because of society, because of what you see on the media? And generally because of other people. I mean, come on, I reached a stage, I realized that I am running my own race. It's not a competition. Why am I looking at my friends and getting all upset because they are getting more results than me, they are achieving more success than me, they are making more money than me? I'm running my own race. So I realized that I'm already very blessed, and I can count my blessings because I have certain financial freedom, I have certain things that I've worked hard for and things like that, right? But when I look at what other people are achieving, it makes what I've achieved looks like nothing, and therefore it makes me feel negative about myself, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of like going to a buffet. You go to a buffet, you just eat what you are capable of eating. Do not take more than what you can eat because somebody else is taking 10 lobsters and you're allergic to lobsters, and then you feel bad now because you can't eat lobsters, and then you paid the same amount of money. It doesn't matter. Look at what's on your own plate, not what's on other people's plate. You see, what you see on social media is just a highlight reel of somebody else's life. They just show you the best part, but they do not show you the downside, the things that they do not want you to see. See, how do you know that the 18-year-old who's acting really successful on Instagram is really making millions? And if they're really making millions, are they truly happy? What kind of things do they have to sacrifice? Do they have to compromise their health? Do they have to compromise certain things in their life just to get that millions? And what if that success at a young age crushes them? I went spiraling down into depression because I made a lot of money when I was young and I didn't know how to handle that money. Again, my life and your life is different. So stop comparing yourself with other people. My life and your life is different. And when you stop comparing other people, you stop thinking short term and you start thinking long term. See, Tony Robbins said that we always overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in 10, 20, or even 30 years. Be patient, think long term. Even if you achieve success at 40 or 50 years old, it is still not too late. If your life expectancy in your country is about 80 years old and you achieve success at 40, you still have 30, 40 more years to go. What is the rush? And how do you know that the person who's married and have kids at 25 is really happy? I'd rather get married at 40 when I'm ready than to rush into it just because it's what society tells me. And I find that once I let go of this unrealistic expectation of myself because of what others expect from me, I stop being unhappy and just focus on my own journey and focus on the long term. So I hope that these 4 simple tips can help you to believe in yourself again, just like it did for me. Once again, let me know in the comment section what is your biggest takeaway, and like this video if you have learned something from this. This will greatly help my channel by pushing this video out to more people who needs to see this. And if you want, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell for weekly videos on business, productivity, marketing, and personal finance for entrepreneurs. And once in a while, I talk about topics like this. So that's all I have for you today. Take care and bye for now.